I'm Detective James, and this is the cases the news forgot.
The motel didn't appear on any tourism map. No website, no reviews, no complaints, no history. Just a faded green sign on the side of a 2-lane highway that read, Mile Marker 0. Vacancy. The strange part wasn't that people checked in. It was that no one remembered checking out. The first report came from a man found walking barefoot along the shoulder of Route 17 at 3 in the morning. He was dehydrated, sunburned, and confused, carrying a motel keycard with no name printed on it. When asked where he'd been staying, he said he didn't know. When asked where he was coming from, he pointed behind him and said, "I think I was just finished." Finished with what? He couldn't say. I've been a detective for over 30 years, long enough to know when a story is just exhaustion wearing a mystery costume. This wasn't that. The man's phone showed photos he didn't remember taking. A neon sign, a narrow hallway, a door with peeling paint, all time-stamped over 3 days. None showed him leaving. The mile marker where he was found was labeled 0. That's where the road officially ended, and where the motel was supposed to be. I drove there myself 2 nights later. No sirens, no backup. Just curiosity and the kind of unease that settles in when paperwork stops explaining things. The highway thinned until it felt like it was shrinking behind me, like the world was quietly deciding how far I was allowed to go. Then the sign appeared, flickering. Old bulbs, same green as the photos. Mile Marker 0. The parking lot was half full. Cars with plates from different states, some dusty, some clean, all parked neatly, like they'd been placed there carefully, rather than driven in a rush. I checked the hoods. Cold, every one of them. Inside, the lobby smelled like stale coffee and something metallic underneath it. The kind of smell hospitals have at night when no one's talking. A man stood behind the counter, mid-50s, gray hair, polite smile that didn't quite reach his eyes. "Checking in?" he asked. I said yes. He didn't ask for ID. He didn't ask for payment. He slid a key across the counter and said, "You'll remember when it's time." That sentence stayed with me longer than anything else. The room looked normal at first glance. Bed, desk, bathroom, window facing the parking lot. But there were signs of occupancy that didn't make sense. A suitcase in the corner that wasn't mine. A jacket hanging in the closet that smelled faintly of someone else's cologne. Toothpaste in the sink, already squeezed. I stood there longer than I should have, waiting for the realization that I'd made a mistake. It never came. Instead, I noticed the clock. It wasn't broken, it was moving, but it never showed the same time twice. The minute hand ticked forward, then backward, then paused altogether. My phone had no signal, no bars, no searching, just a blank screen, like it had forgotten what it was supposed to do. I wrote the time down anyway. Old habit. The paper already had writing on it. Names, dates, some crossed out, some circled, none in my handwriting. That's when I realized something worse. The paper was dated 3 days earlier. I don't remember sleeping that first night, but the bed was warm when I sat down, like someone had just stood up. In the morning, my shoes were by the door, clean. The jacket from the closet was folded on the chair, and the keycard was no longer on the desk. It was in my pocket. Downstairs, the same man was behind the counter. Same smile, same tone. "Did you sleep well?" he asked. I said I didn't remember sleeping at all. He nodded, like that was the correct answer. In the dining area, other guests sat quietly. A woman stirring cold coffee without drinking it. A couple holding hands but not speaking. A teenage boy staring at the wall like he was waiting for instructions. I asked how long they'd been staying. No one gave me a number. One woman finally looked up and said, "Until it's done." I asked what it was. She frowned, confused by her own answer. That's when I understood the motel wasn't keeping people trapped by force. It was keeping them by removing the moment where leaving made sense. You didn't forget who you were. You forgot when you were finished. By noon, I found a guest log behind the counter. Hundreds of names, thousands maybe. Some with check-in dates, none with checkout times. The last page was blank except for one line written in fresh ink. James Wilde. Room 12. The pen was still wet, and I couldn't remember writing it. If you've ever stayed somewhere unfamiliar and felt like time stretched just enough to make you uncomfortable, tell me in the comments, because what happened next is where things stopped feeling accidental and started feeling designed. I didn't leave the motel that day because nothing told me to. That's the part that's hardest to explain. There was no fear stopping me, no locked doors, no warning signs, just an absence of urgency. The idea of leaving felt unfinished, like standing up in the middle of a sentence. I decided to test it. I walked back to my room, packed my bag, and stepped into the hallway with my keys in hand. The hallway was longer than I remembered. The walls were the same dull beige, but the lights were spaced farther apart, stretching the distance between them into something uncomfortable. I counted the doors as I walked. Room 12, room 14, room 16, then room 12 again. I stopped, turned around. Behind me were doors I hadn't passed before. Different stains on the carpet. Different scratches along the baseboards. The exit sign at the end of the hall flickered, pointing left instead of straight ahead. That was when the motel showed its hand. It wasn't changing rapidly. It was adjusting slowly, the way a place does when it thinks you're not paying attention. The hallway wasn't looping. It was correcting me. I knocked on one of the doors. No response. I knocked harder. The door opened a few inches, just enough for a man's eye to appear. He looked exhausted, older than he should have been, like someone who'd been tired for a very long time. "Do you know how to get out?" I asked. He stared at me for a long moment, then said, "You don't check out. You fade." Before I could ask what that meant, the door closed. Back in the lobby, the clerk was polishing the counter with the same slow, circular motion. I asked him how long he'd worked here. "All my working life," he said. "How long is that?" He paused, like he was considering a number he wasn't allowed to say. "Long enough to see patterns." I asked him why the motel was called Mile Marker Zero. He leaned in slightly, lowering his voice. "Because it's where journeys stop being measured forward." That night, I stayed awake on purpose. Sat in the chair by the window, lights off, notebook open. I wrote down everything I could remember about myself, my career, my age, old cases, names of people I trusted. Every detail I was afraid might slip away if I slept. At some point, I noticed new writing appearing on the page, not forming letter by letter, just being there. Notes in my handwriting, but not my memory. Stayed 3 nights already. Don't trust the clocks. Leaving feels wrong for a reason. My hand wasn't moving. The clock on the wall read 2:11, then 2:11 again, then 1:58. I heard footsteps outside my door. Slow, deliberate. Someone stopping at each room, pausing just long enough to listen. When they reached my door, the handle didn't turn. Whoever it was stood there, breathing softly. Then a knock, not urgent, not loud, polite. I didn't answer. The footsteps moved on. In the morning, one of the cars in the parking lot was gone. The space where it had been looked older than the rest of the pavement, like it had been empty for years. In the dining area, the teenage boy from yesterday wasn't there. No one mentioned him. I asked the woman with the cold coffee if she remembered him. She looked at me, confused, then shook her head. There was never a boy. I checked the guest log again. The name I'd seen yesterday was gone. Not crossed out, not erased. Just never written. That's when I realized the motel didn't remove people when they left. It removed the evidence that they had ever needed to. The longer you stayed, the fewer references to you existed outside the building. Your car, your messages, your timeline. Everything narrowed until the motel became the last place you made sense. That afternoon, I tried the exit again. This time, I made it to the door. Sunlight spilled in. Heat. Wind. Freedom close enough to smell. My foot crossed the threshold, and my head filled with a single, overwhelming thought. You're not done yet. It wasn't a voice. It was a conclusion. I stepped back inside. The door closed gently behind me. In my pocket, the key card buzzed softly, like it was acknowledging a choice I didn't remember making. If you were here, would you have walked out anyway? Or would you have done what I did? Stayed just a little longer to understand why leaving felt like a mistake. By the third night, the motel began treating me like I belonged there. That wasn't comfort. That was escalation. The clerk stopped asking if I needed anything. He started to telling me where I'd already been. When I walked past the front desk, he'd say things like, "You tried that hallway yesterday," or "You won't like what's behind the laundry door." He never looked up when he said it, like he was reading from a memory that wasn't his. I checked the parking lot again. More cars were missing, not recently moved. Gone in the way something disappears when it was never meant to be permanent. The remaining vehicles looked older now, dust thicker, tires a little flatter. One had a parking ticket tucked under the wiper, dated 12 years ago. Inside the motel, the walls had changed color slightly, not enough to notice unless you were paying attention. The beige had dulled, like it was being worn down by time passing incorrectly. I followed the hallway past my room and found doors that hadn't been there before. Room numbers skipping ahead. Room 37, room 41, room 52. The higher the number, the quieter it felt. Behind one of those doors, I heard movement. Not footsteps, breathing, slow and shallow, like someone conserving air. I knocked. No response. I pressed my ear to the door and heard a whisper that wasn't directed at me. I don't remember starting this. I opened the door. The room was empty except for a bed and a mirror. No furniture, no luggage. The mirror was mounted where the television should have been, facing the bed directly. The sheets were disturbed, like someone had been lying there moments ago. When I stepped inside, the door closed behind me on its own. In the mirror, I wasn't alone. There was a version of me sitting on the edge of the bed, older, thinner, eyes dull. He looked at me with recognition that went too far, like he'd been waiting. "You're still asking questions," he said. I turned. The bed was empty. The mirror version continued speaking. "That's good. That means you haven't settled." I asked him how long he'd been here. He smiled weakly. "Long enough to stop counting nights, short enough to still want to leave." I asked him how to check out. His expression changed. Fear, real and sudden. "You don't," he said. "You convince the motel you've completed your stay." Before I could ask what that meant, the reflection flickered and vanished. The mirror showed only me again. When I left the room, the door behind me was gone. Just a blank stretch of wall where it had been. That night, the dream started. Not memories, not fantasies, scenarios. I dreamed of waking up in the motel and knowing exactly what to do, which hallways to avoid, which guests not to speak to. I dreamed of working the front desk, smiling politely, handing out keys. I dreamed of watching people arrive confused and leave quieter. In every dream I was useful. That's how the motel worked. It didn't punish you, it repurposed you. I woke up with new notes in my notebook. More confident handwriting now. Less questioning. Hallway shifts at night. Guests stabilize after day 4. Leaving urge fades naturally. I didn't remember writing them, but they felt familiar, comfortable. I caught myself correcting another guest at breakfast when they asked what time it was. I told them time didn't matter here. The words came out smoothly, practiced. That scared me more than the mirror. I went back to the guest log. My name was there again. This time it had an annotation. Extended stay. I flipped back through the pages and noticed something I hadn't before. Every name had a role written faintly beside it. Cleaner, night watch, front desk, maintenance. Some roles were crossed out, others circled. Next to my name was a blank line. Waiting. The woman with the cold coffee finally spoke to me that evening. She said she used to have a daughter. She didn't remember her face, only the sound of her voice. She said the motel told her she could remember again once her stay was complete. "Do you think that's true?" she asked. I didn't answer, because I'd started to understand what completion meant. It wasn't about rest. It wasn't about time served. It was about acceptance. Guests didn't check out when they were ready to leave. They checked out when they stopped resisting the idea that this was where they belonged. And the most dangerous moment wasn't forgetting who you were. It was remembering and deciding it didn't matter anymore. By then, I knew I didn't have much time left before the motel finished adjusting me. Before my questions turned into instructions. Before my memories became optional. I needed to leave while leaving still felt wrong, because once it felt right, there would be no exit left to find. By the 4th morning, the motel stopped pretending I was a guest. No knock woke me, no alarm. I opened my eyes already standing, fully dressed, in the hallway outside my room. My keycard was gone. In my hand was a clipboard, the kind used for routine checks. Neatly printed at the top were today's tasks: vacancy inspection, hallway alignment, guest reassurance. My name wasn't on it. That terrified me more than seeing it written anywhere. I dropped the clipboard and forced myself to sit on the carpet. Cold, threadbare, real. I said my name out loud, said it again, louder. The sound felt thin, like it didn't belong in the space anymore. Down the hall, doors opened slightly, then closed. guests watching without wanting to be seen. The clerk was waiting in the lobby. He wasn't behind the counter this time. He was standing in front of it, hands folded, like a host preparing to say goodbye. The smile was gone. "You're close," he said. "That's why this feels uncomfortable." I asked him what mile marker 0 really meant. He looked at the door, then back at me. "It's where people arrive when they've reached the end of something they didn't know how to finish." I told him I wanted to check out. He nodded. "Then you need to tell us what you came here for." The lobby changed while we talked. Subtly, photos appeared on the walls, old vacation shots, families, couples, travelers smiling in front of the same green sign outside. Every photo had the same flaw. None of the people were looking at the camera. They were looking past it. I realized then that the motel wasn't feeding on memory. It was feeding on unresolved endings. People arrived carrying something unfinished. Grief, guilt, questions they never asked. The motel didn't erase those things. It gave them time to sit with them. Endless time, until sitting felt like completion. That's why leaving felt wrong. Leaving meant accepting that some things don't get answers. I told the clerk I came here because I chase things that don't close cleanly. Cold cases, missing persons, stories without conclusions. I told him I stay too long trying to fix what's already happened. He listened carefully. Then he asked, "And did you fix them?" I didn't answer, because the truth was, I rarely did. The lobby lights dimmed. The exit door creaked open on its own. Outside, the road stretched out, clear and straight. Mile marker 0 stood quietly, no longer flickering. "You can leave," the clerk said, "but you won't carry the answers with you." I felt the pull then, stronger than before. The desire to stay, to organize, to help, to turn this place into something manageable, useful, permanent. That was the trap. I walked to the guest log instead, picked up the pen, and instead of signing out, I drew a single line through my name. Hard enough to tear the paper. The room shook, not violently, uneasily, like a system encountering an action it wasn't designed for. The clerk's face changed. Not anger, confusion. "You didn't complete your stay," he said. I said no. I accepted it. The lights went out. When they came back on, the lobby was empty. The photos were gone. The counter dusty, like it hadn't been used in years. The clipboard lay where I'd dropped it, blank now. Outside, the parking lot was empty. No cars, no tracks, no sign anyone had ever been there. I walked out without hesitation. The road behind me faded into heat shimmer, then nothing. When I turned back, there was no motel, just scrubland and a weathered signpost snapped in half. Mile marker 0 was gone. Weeks later, I filed the report. It went nowhere. No matching property records, no missing person correlations, no follow-up. But sometimes when I'm driving late at night and the road feels longer than it should, I catch myself slowing down, watching for a green sign that isn't there anymore. And I wonder how many people are still staying somewhere like that. Somewhere that feels safe, because it never asks you to finish anything. If you've ever avoided leaving a place, a job, a relationship, not because you loved it, but because ending it felt harder than staying, tell me in the comments. Because places like that don't trap you. They wait for you to decide you belong, and once you do, no one remembers you ever checked out.